Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And only four teams are left in the NFL. It's conference championship weekend. The divisional round is over. So let's break down the four teams remaining, how they got there, and who is going to move on to the Super Bowl. So, Tim, are you ready to go?
It's champ week, baby. Let's run it.
Champ week. Although Champ week in college basketball is much, much better than the NFL, I
I
would
agree.
say.
I
But we're
would totally agree with that.
but we're talking football here. So we're gonna start with the AFC Championship between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Starting with the Ravens, they got there by taking down the Houston Texans 34-10. This was Lamar Jackson's coming out party. He cemented himself as the MVP, even though it's a regular season award. I know they still kind of like is up in the air until the NFL honors. Lamar Jackson was awesome, darn near perfect on the air and the ground, ran for 100 yards and two touchdowns. And the game was kind of close until Baltimore pulled away at the end. And there's something to be said for a team with playoff experience really turning on the Jets in the second half and beating a team with none. But that's not to dismiss what CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans did. They had a fantastic season, but I mean, neither of us are really shocked that Baltimore pulled away and won the game.
No, not particular. Obviously, I had hoped that Houston would be able to, keep up the magic and whatnot, but this to me was a very logical outcome. Again, close game, 10-10 at half, but Baltimore really woke up in the second half. Lamar really woke up, and Houston just kind of ran out of steam. They couldn't get the ball moving nearly as much in the second half. CJ Stroud did not look, fantastic, but in general, Baltimore just did what they needed to do to push all the right buttons on both offense and defense. And I think they just wore them down. Like you talk about the playoff experience and the talent that they have on their team. I think they just kind of ended up wearing them down. Houston couldn't get anything going in the run game, so that really limited them not only on the ground, but it allows Baltimore to really hone in on the pass. So they weren't really able to get a ton going on either side in that game. And they really did do a good job of not letting Houston get the momentum on the defensive side of the ball as well, because that's what he took off for Houston in their game against the Browns, is they were able to turn defense into a momentum changer and into points that they just weren't able to do in this one. So second half was all Baltimore. Like you said, like Lamar really cemented himself on why he's the MVP, regardless of whether or not this game gets taken into consideration. It really proves that he is that guy, and he definitely deserves the MVP in my mind. Even though he didn't have the most fantastic game through the air in terms of yardage and whatnot, he ran for 100 yards and two touchdowns on the ground. So he's just the do it all guy, and he continues to do it. So he's got another big challenge coming up, though. That's for sure.
He absolutely does. This Baltimore team seems just a little bit different, though, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because you have so many ways that they can beat you. Now they're more than one dimensional where they can just get you through the run game. Now you have Lamar Jackson really taking that next step as a passer and being able to spread the ball around. You have options. You have Zay Flowers. You have Oda Beckham. And when they're not producing, you got Nelson Aguilar scoring a touchdown, Isaiah Likely scoring a touchdown, and Mark Andrews is going to be coming back here pretty soon, so that's going to be a big factor going forward. But on the other side, the Kansas City Chiefs snuck by the Buffalo Bills 27-24, and Buffalo is just tortured, man. They're a tortured fan base. The pit was not enough to save them this time. In fact, I don't want to say it was their undoing, because then you'd be getting a little fatalistic. But when you get these fan bases that haven't won anything, that go back time and time and time again, and they can't get it done, you start to believe that there's some higher forces working against you. Trust me, I've seen it with more of my fair share of fan bases, and Buffalo's definitely one of them. I remember at the beginning of the season, we were previewing with this Buffalo team. We were questioning how long that window was going to be open, and it wasn't an if it was going to collapse in the playoffs, it was a when, and just not much went right. And I think that's the real microcosm of this game. It's not more so that like Kansas City was fantastic, high flying, did anything super over the top to beat Buffalo, but Buffalo had the opportunities. I think they played better than Kansas City for the large majority of the game, and they just fell flat. whether it was, wide right two, which just haunts Buffalo even 33 years later, or that inexplicable decision to run a fake punt with Damar Hamlin to actually have him do something this season and not just stand there on the sidelines. Um, I guess the world may never know. I mean, Josh Allen battled his heart out, but sometimes, the most Herculean performances of Josh Allen's are going to be forgotten because you have slightly better on the other side in Patrick Mahomes. Not to dismiss anything that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs did, and I've been talking for a while, but you know, the Chiefs played a great game. They found a way to win. That's what great teams do. But this, in my opinion, was far more about Buffalo losing.
Yeah, I 100% agree because like you said, for the majority of the game, it felt like Buffalo was outplaying the Chiefs. I mean, if you look at stats alone, like at least through the air, it seems like the Chiefs were more, efficient at least. They passed for about 30 more yards, only had 6 incompletions for Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But for Josh Allen, I mean, obviously he didn't get as much going on through the air, but similar to Lamar, he ran for a bunch. He ran for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. So again, he proved his versatility, and that's what kept them in this game, and also actually kept them in control for a good amount of it. But certain things, for the reasons why I predicted Kansas City in this game, kind of did come true for Buffalo in a bit, because again, Diggs was really nowhere to be seen. 3 receptions on 8 targets for 21 yards. He was again.
Tim also knew that Jason Kelsey was going to be shirtless
Oh
in
well,
the suite,
obviously,
and that was going to carry the Chiefs to victory, and that was the sole reason why they won, not
totally.
because of anything that happened on the field, of course.
No, but I will say the one thing that I was able to identify and stayed true in this one is the slight emergence of Khalil Shakir continuing to play at a pretty high level throughout the end of the season and this playoffs, going 7 receptions on 9 targets for 44 yards and a touchdown. So he was a bit of a bright spot in Diggs' absence, but in general, it's just kind of the little things that were their undoing, and that's just what it came down to for playoff teams. If you want to make a deep run, you have to do all the little things well. And you saw that in the case of the Packers here, which we'll talk about here in a little bit of the
Oh,
little things,
you know we will.
but but you saw this with the Bills as well. They played a very good game, but you have to do very specific things at the highest level in some of these close games that are battles, and the Chiefs just did those a little bit better.
I want to go back to Stephon Diggs for a minute. That
Mm-hmm.
relationship is fractured. I think Stephon Diggs will be playing in a different uniform next year, whether that
He might
be
be.
via trade or cut. Um, a cut of Stephon Diggs would save the Bills a significant chunk of change. I'm not sure the exact figure, but throughout all the drama that's been going on this season of Diggs is unhappy, no Diggs is fine, no Diggs is unhappy, they're yelling at each other, all that nonsense. I think this is about it for Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. I think we're going to see a definite change of scenery for him. But
Yeah.
moving on to the prediction in the AFC Championship, Tim, who do you have advancing to the Super Bowl?
Kind of what we've talked about for a lot here. Baltimore just looks really solid right now. You're right, they do look different. This looks like a different Baltimore team in the playoffs, at least, than we've seen playoff Baltimore teams look like in the past. When they've seen adversity, like you go into halftime against the Texans 10-10, it's like, this is a little nerve-wracking. We definitely expected to be in a better position than this because, they definitely consider them to be themselves to be the better team, as they should be. But they were able to, right the ship, calm down, make the adjustments they needed. And the second half was pretty much all theirs. Obviously, we've seen good things out of Kansas City, and I think they're at right now some of the best of making the most out of the least, I guess you could say. Just in terms of, I would say, at least on the offensive side of the ball, like obviously no one's going to claim that the Chiefs have no talent. Like they have guys all over the field that can still very much play. But in terms of a lot of these Chiefs teams that we've seen make the AFC Championship, I would say year in and year out, this is not the most talented team that we've seen. And they've had to battle their way here. There's no doubt about that. So I don't know. I especially in Baltimore with the way that Lamar is playing right now, I think the Ravens have this chip on their shoulder that maybe they haven't quite had because people maybe don't really believe in them as much anymore. Even though obviously they're widely respected, but they've been known in previous years to not have great playoff success. I think I got to take the Ravens at home in this one with all sides pointing towards them playing some of their best football at the right time.
What kind of chip you think they got on their shoulder? Like, what kind of chip you think it is?
Maybe an AFC championship here in a couple days.
I was more so thinking like a Tostitos, personally.
I don't know if
Um,
Lamar's a Tostitos guy. I feel like he's got something with a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more flavor to it.
yeah,
You
but
know,
what's
the
wrong
the
with
Tostitos
Tostitos?
the Tostitos got the versatility. Don't get me wrong,
Sure,
but
like
I don't
Lamar.
know if I see Lamar as a Tostitos guy. If you know
I
what
don't
I'm saying.
know.
I don't.
Well, hey, maybe we can get Lamar a Tostitos advertisement somehow. Anybody who has connections in the media that somehow watches this, if you want to link it to us and let us know whether Lamar's a big Tostitos
Send it
guy or
his
not,
way.
we'll send it his way and send it our way because I don't know about you,
We get
Tim,
royalties.
but I'm curious. Well, I don't even care about royalties. I just want to know what kind of chip Lamar Jackson likes. So, but my prediction, right? Back on track.
That
Um,
one, yeah.
yeah, so you're absolutely correct. There's no doubt that if the Kansas City Chiefs advance to the Super Bowl, that they're going to earn it. You know, you go through Miami Dolphins in the absolute frigid cold, and then you go to Buffalo and you win, and now you're going to Baltimore to play the MVP of the league.
Tough
And
sledding.
yeah, it is tough sledding. This Chiefs team is not as talented as years past. Sure, they have Kelsey, Rashi Rice, Isaiah Pacheco that are all very good, but it's really the defense that, makes up the bulk of the talent on that side. I mean, that defense is awesome, but is it going to be enough to stop Lamar Jackson?
Hard to
Nope.
tell.
I think that Baltimore is also going to be going to the Super Bowl like you. If you're playing your best football at your right time, I think Lamar Jackson is going to write a different definition of what playoff Lamar is than in years past. So we both got Baltimore advancing to the Super Bowl on the AFC side. So let's advance to the NFC side. The Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers. What a ride for Detroit. Detroit finally making it back to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991, where they lost to the Washington Redskins. Imagine that being the NFC Championship game, and you see Detroit and Washington
In
at
Washington.
Washington. Yeah, that would
How
be
times have changed.
absolutely. But Detroit is back. They
Yeah.
fended off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-23, and the entire city of Detroit is going absolutely bonkers. Jared Goff leading his men down the field, leading the Lions to the promised land, although this is a road game. I'm sure Detroit would want to be playing Green Bay right now, so the NFC Championship game would be in Detroit. Detroit could actually host an NFC Championship game, but what is there to be said about this Detroit Lions team that hasn't already been said in terms of the grit, the tenacity, the perseverance that they've shown throughout the season to get to this point, starting from the top down, starting from GM to coach to quarterback to the offense and the defense and the special teams? Like, I don't want to crown this team as special yet, but you can definitely feel something in the air about this Detroit Lions magic. And it was enough for them to defeat the Buccaneers, even though the Buccaneers had plenty of chances. The Buccaneers had the ball with a minute left, and Baker Mayfield threw that game winning interception. And then Jared Goff proceeds to kneel out the clock a little too fast. And all Todd Bowles had to do was call a timeout to potentially get the ball
Force a field
back.
goal. They just had to force a 40-plus yard field goal, which is obviously by no means automatic, which we've seen through a
No,
lot of
that's
the
definitely
divisional
not a
round
gimme.
and a lot of the kicks from 40 plus that did not go.
And like we didn't even talk about Tyler Bass in the Buffalo game, which,
Yeah.
we probably should have, but let's not get into
No need to
that.
hop back to that one.
Exactly. That's not why Buffalo lost. There was far more to it than just a dinky field goal. But hey, Tampa Bay had their chances. They had an awesome season. Baker Mayfield definitely cementing himself as the Buccaneers quarterback, at least for the next few years, for the foreseeable future, giving his
Yeah.
NFL career a revival of sorts. Um, but Detroit, man, there's something brewing there. There's something about this Lions team.
Yeah, I mean they're fun to watch. They've got talent. They've got talent across the board, and I think that's what makes them so fun to watch, especially their offensive playmakers. Great to see Laporta healthy because obviously we know with that Week 18 knee injury, people were questioning where he would be at, but having him back is out there is huge and
Tim
playing
Giannini,
well.
big Sam Laporta guy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's fun to watch. I love watching the tight end position, especially when they're good. And picking Laporta from the start in fantasy and being able to watch his success this season was obviously very, very fun. But their team as a whole, especially with their rookie class and what they've been able to do all over the field between Gibbs and Laporta and Jack Campbell, like they've got guys at all
Don't
and
forget about Brian Branch.
Brian Branch in the secondary as well. They just look good. And Gibbs had a great game in this one with 9 rushes for 74 yards and a touchdown. And that was a great compliment to a lot of what they got going on in the passing game. I think what it's going to come down to for them is, are they going to be able to limit teams enough, or in this case, the 49ers, because they've been in a lot of shootouts, kind of so it seems, is they're
Mm-hmm.
able to score the ball a lot, but are they going to be able to essentially stop the 49ers enough to outscore them? Because,
Right.
obviously we know how good of an offense that the 49ers can have. They haven't
Well,
necessarily always shown it game in and game out. But teams have been not necessarily having their way, but seeing a decent amount of success against the Lions defense. So I think if the Lions want to win this game, a defense is going to have to be a big priority for them because we know what playmakers they have on offense. We know what they can do as long as, their protection holds up and Jared Goff, plays a pretty smart game and doesn't try to do too much, which the Lions have been doing a lot of lately. So it's not crazy to expect that. But
but he's
we'll
just
see
hopping
how
right
that
into
plays
the
out.
analysis portion of the NFC Championship game. It's like, recap done. Now let's talk about what they got to do this week. You're like last
Well,
week's done.
here's the thing. One slides into the other because you see stuff from this game that has it's going to have a
Oh,
lot to do
sure.
with what it's going to take for them in this NFC Championship game.
Yeah. And on the other side, the San Francisco 49ers, very much, how do I word this? Accidentally their way into the NFC Championship game.
In a way, I mean, I can't say that they really deserve to win that one all that much because I mean it was the
No.
Packers game to lose. And obviously we know you covered this game
I
extensively
did.
in,
I
in your
did.
separate
We have
video.
a whole separate episode on just more of the Packers playoff heartbreak. So if you want to watch that and where we're going, it was a fun season. Uh, I was having fun the whole way. Until about the last 4 minutes. Like we didn't expect to win. We're playing with house's money, so why do you have to rip my heart out time and time again? Why does it always have to be this agonizing heartbreak every single year, especially against the 49ers? You see, I say Buffalo is tortured. Green Bay is tortured in like a whole different host of ways, all right? No, 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 no. Don't even, all right? You wouldn't understand as a Bears
You're
fan.
you're tortured in a different way, but like you have a Super Bowl in the last 15 years. Like, you know how many franchises don't have anything near that and don't even have the yes, like you are tortured in a different way of
Yeah,
getting to the
sure.
playoffs and coming up short.
You know what?
But there are definitely a lot of
I
of
guess in a
franchises.
vacuum, like Super Bowl 12 different heartbreaking postseason losses,
It all
slightly
depends on what
before
you
and
value
after.
more.
Man, that ring's getting farther and farther away. I wanna complete the mission. All right. You get
I'm
pretty
I'm sure you do. There's 31 other NFL fan
sick.
bases that feel the exact same way.
Well, Tim, you get pretty sick and tired of getting bounced by the 49ers on an almost biannual basis. So,
Yeah, no, I get it.
and I mean, I don't want to say this as positive news because you don't want anybody to lose their job, but the battle is won. Joe Barry's been fired.
This is
Um,
true.
and
You've been calling for it all season, and
oh
I don't know
please,
if this game was necessarily the last straw, or whether or not the cards were already in hand and it was just a matter of waiting till the end of the season.
I'm
But
gonna
it
say
has
this.
happened.
I think this was not a coincidence. I think the Bucks firing Adrian Griffin was the catalyst for the Packers firing Joe Barry. I really do. I'm so
Really,
serious. I do. I'm so
that's an
serious
interesting connection.
because after 43 games, the championship caliber Milwaukee Bucks realize that, hey, our defense isn't good enough and it's not working, so we got to make a change. And the Packers have been suffering like three separate seasons with the Joe Barry experience with a defensive coordinator that just doesn't produce results at any level, at any stop. Oh, so now we're gonna fire him. You know what? There's something to having faith and sticking with your guy, but the change had to be made maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years, like max. Like this has
Yeah,
been
I mean,
a long, long time coming, and I'm glad they finally had the balls to do it. So now we got to bring in a young defensive coordinator with some new ideas that can get this personnel flying around and unlock this defense full potential. Because this defense does have a lot of potential, and um, geez, I don't think it's been unlocked since like 2010. We're talking like Dom Capers, like three defensive coordinators ago, and I think that's really sad. So, I think
well,
if the
I was
window of
gonna
Super Bowl
say,
contention is going to be open, we're going to need that defense to be good.
that's perfectly fair. But what I was gonna say is we do have a winner in this game, and the Packers were not them. So in terms of who is actually going to be playing
I
in the rest
don't
of this
care
playoffs,
about the 49ers. They
I
can
believe we should
go
get to the guys who are actually still going to be playing football come Sunday.
they can go walk right off the Golden Gate Bridge, all right? Because
I'm sure you feel that way, but
you know what? I wasn't bitter when I was filming the solo episode. Now that I got you here, I'm back to being incredibly bitter.
I bring out all the Packer bitterness right out of you.
Why do you do this to me? I don't understand. I was
It is my natural God given ability.
Well, you know what? Go Lions. They're going to the Super Bowl. I don't care. All right.
Yeah.
If the 49ers, no, seriously though, if the 49ers played against the Lions the way they played against the Packers, they're going to lose.
No, I totally agree with that because like I said, I don't think the 49ers actually really deserve to win that game.
And
Like
and that's
they
and that's my analysis. That's my analysis and I'm sticking to it.
yeah, there was a lot of things that just sort of kind of fell their way in terms of for them winning that game, and they definitely I don't know whether or not it's going to be a wake up call for them. They certainly need it to be if they want to win this game. But also, a big part of this game is going to be the available the availability of Debo Samuel gaining that shoulder injury in the game against the Packers. Right now, as of a couple days ago of recording this, he's still listed as 50-50. So if he plays, that's obviously we know how much of a massive game changer and difference maker he is just by being out on the field for the 49ers and the general statistics of when he plays and when he doesn't. So if he doesn't play, that could pose some serious issues. But overall, based on what I have seen from the Lions as a whole in terms of their offense and defense and where their strengths are compared to the 49ers, I do believe that 49ers here at home will be able to get it done. Mainly because I don't think the Lions
Oh,
will be able to do enough.
gross.
I
For,
think that the
Forget that.
Packers no, legitimately, I think that the Packers defense will have had, looking back after the Sunday, have had more success against this 49ers offense than the Lions will. And I think that'll be enough. I think if this tries to go into a shootout,
Hooray.
I don't think the Lions can outshoot the 49ers.
You know what? That's a very fair assessment, but Tim, for one time in your life, can you pick with your heart and not your head?
Nah. Can't do it.
It's quite fun. I think you should try it sometime. And
Nah,
and and not
nah,
because
can't do
your
it.
and not because your Boilermakers have been the overwhelming favorite in every single disappointing loss. But, hey, pick the Lions, all right? I understand that I just gave
Can't
you
do it. Hey,
little
I'm sticking with the logo conspiracy. We got the red and purple logo. We got Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. I'm sticking with the script. That's all I can say.
That's fair enough. I mean, the Super Bowl colors for next year are green and purple, so Packers Ravens.
Jets Vikings.
No, God no. Dude. Oh, that would be my worst nightmare. Dude,
That would be funny.
that would be
I had to think about that for a second. I'm like,
that would be
blue and
hilariously
green on the
awful.
opposite sides, opposite conferences. Hmm?
Oh my gosh. Aaron Rodgers versus the purple pieces of poop. I had to watch my mouth for a minute.
Thank you for your restraint.
You know what? I've been
Hey,
practicing. I've been working on it.
all I can tell you is, these are setting up to be two very fun games to watch. I very much think that, I mean, as per most, championship games and championship weekend, like either team can absolutely win this in both matchups. But safe to say, I think the matchup that I would least like to see in the Super Bowl would be 49ers Chiefs. But anything other than that, I would be kind of fine with seeing, just because, seeing Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl, if he's not facing the Chiefs, cool. I don't really want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Any other combination of that, cool with me. I think
Gonna
it'd be a
be
great,
gonna
great
be
time.
completely honest. I'd much rather see Patrick Mahomes get his third ring than Brock Purdy advance to the Super Bowl. I'm
Well,
so
you're just a professional Brock Purdy hater. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm so tired of the Brock Purdy narratives. I'm so tired of it. He's not a
And
good
I'm tired of
quarterback.
the slander.
He's not a good quarterback. I don't know
Hey,
what you
you
want me to
know,
do.
that can be an entirely different video
I,
if we so please. We
you
can
know
take a
what?
look back at this season and
We can
take a
run
look at the
back. We can
numbers,
run
and
back the QB tier list.
we can.
I could care less about the numbers. All right, system quarterback. He sucks. He's not a good QB. I'm almost
Say
confident
what
that
you want.
I could play QB in Kyle Shanahan's offense. How do you have time to drop back to pass, do your taxes, call some DoorDash for some Wingstop, eat some wings, which totally failed me, by the way, you know,
That's another story.
wipe your hand, and then still throw a duck?
Whatever you say. Watch the
Man,
tape.
Brock Purdy sucks. But that's all we got for our conference championship predictions and divisional round breakdown. If you want to see more of our content, we have tons of stuff on the NFL and other sports. Tim is going to be coming at you with his boom bust or believable at some point. I mean, shoot, I may hop in and start doing the Big East. Maybe. Hey,
We'll have
college
to see.
basketball's fun and we love covering it. But if you want us to talk about anything else, let us know. And until next time, we out.